All right, turning now to an entirely different industry. ImmunoGen is a biotech company that develops targeted anti-cancer products, has a number of its compounds in clinical trials, while its stock hit its 52-week high almost a month ago and is up over 17% over the past year.
Well, ImmunoGen is one of more than 240 taking part in this week's Canaccord Genuity 2011 Growth Conference. That is in Boston, and President and CEO Dan Junius joins us now from the conference. Dan, welcome. We're glad to have you.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
What are the announcements that you're making up at this conference?
Well, it's the opportunity to update investors on the things that have been taking place at the company, looking at our pipeline. We have a number of compounds in the clinic, and it's just an opportunity to give them a comprehensive view of the things taking place.
You know, Dan, talk to us a little bit, though. It's very hard for those of us who aren't in the industry to understand, like, the essential difference between what you're doing and another anti-cancer pharma company is doing. And in reading some of your background, I think it's critical that you make that distinction, because it's not just about delivering a cancer drug. This is really about killing cancer cells.
Yeah, I think there's two aspects that will help people understand it. What we have is what you would call a personalized medicine. So you're trying to understand the patients that would express a particular target where our compounds, or one of the compounds we or our partners are developing. And the other is, besides being personal, it's targeted. So many of the therapies that exist today are systemic. And so what you end up with is, while they may kill cancer cells, they also at the same time will affect other healthy tissue that generates most of the side effects that you see with patients. So to the extent we're successful in addressing those two areas, I think it makes the opportunity for a very powerful therapy.
And Dan, I'm glad you just made the distinction between the way cancer used to be fought systemically. You flood the body with chemotherapy, in effect, and now you're going after specific cells. It's targeted so you don't damage the rest of the body. How are you specifically targeting cells? Explain the process in layman's terms for us.
Well, that'll be tough to do entirely in layman terms, but let me give it a shot. Cells express on their surface a number of different what are called antigens, and we look at those as being targets. And what we do is we develop, using a technology, develop monoclonal antibodies. Now, antibodies your body generates on their own. These are generated outside of the body to go after a specific target on the surface of a cell. Our technology utilizes the targeting ability of those antibodies, and we then attach to that very potent molecules that stay attached to the antibody as it circulates through the system. But once it attaches to the surface of the cell, that target I talked about earlier, it then gets pulled into the cell, the toxin gets released, and then it allows it to kill the cell. The beauty of it is it only goes to the target that's on the surface of the cancer cell. Our technology, even if it goes to healthy tissue, it's not going to have an impact, because the nature of the action of our toxin only is with a rapidly dividing cell, which is a characteristic of a cancer cell.
All right, Dan, you did a great job. I could follow that completely, and that means you definitely did that well. Let me ask you, though, from your perspective as a CEO of any company here in the U.S. right now, we've gone through a week of a huge amount of volatility, things happening in the U.S. now that have never happened in history before. How does that impact your business specifically, and how are you managing for that going forward?
Well, we've sort of been trained a little bit by the experience of 2008 when you see these significant disruptions. In terms of our company specifically, we're fortunate to be in a very strong financial position. We raised money back in June, so that gives us the wherewithal to weather uncertain times that you happen to see in the economy from time to time. But as an industry, it's clearly disruptive. Our particular end of the life sciences business is one that relies very heavily on raising capital. And so this can be disruptive to businesses executing their plans, and then that introduces time delays. It may introduce the viability of companies if there isn't efficient access to capital.
All right, Dan, we have to leave it there.